Hello all, welcome to Pivotal Traders. So I'm bringing the expiry plan after quite a long time. Please pardon me if I am not being much active on the YouTube, but I bring the content whenever I feel like that I have something to share and which can add meaning to your trading career. So let's quickly jump in to discuss about tomorrow's expiry plan. So what you see on the screen is the Bank Nifty chart, which is the spot chart, and you know that I deduced the black lines using the Bank Nifty futures chart. So there are some kind of approximation when I'm using the black lines on the spot chart. So please keep it in mind. So these are the levels which I can visualize in terms of the resistance or the support which can be taken by the Bank Nifty tomorrow. And it was beautifully taken support around the black line here, which I was expecting. I was also updating on the Telegram channel, which you might have seen that how consciously I was waiting for a reaction around this black line, and it did come. It even tried to confuse me a lot, but it did come. It did give the reaction and the short covering which I was waiting for, and the short covering was more or less of around 600 points. So it was not an easy black line which I was tracing. It was quite a strong one. So what can be the plan for tomorrow? So tomorrow's plan, first we have to look at the data, because data, though it will not make much of a sense when we are looking around the time when the VIX is so high and there is so much of uncertainty, anything can happen over the night. But even then, let's make a sense of the data. How scared are the option buyers or the sellers? So when you look at the change today, because there was some of a short covering happening here, so you look at this 35,500 call writing got a good momentum at the end. And when did it happen? If we are trying to make a sense of it, when did it actually happen? Let's go and check. So 35,500 call side and 35,500 put side, both the data will be visualizing. And let's delete the price here. Let's also get rid of this. Now, if I'm to make a sense of here, that 35,500, the change in the OI was good amount. It did not happen in the last moment. You can see that. In fact, when the price was increasing of the Bank Nifty, the call writing came down, but it did not came down at a pace where it was increasing. So that means there would be some kind of sense where this call writer might be scared, or they might be having some plans to have a premium decay. So they might be having a good amount of liquidity to defend their positions, but they might be also scared. So if they're running for the position, if they're scared that now nothing can be done, they're stuck. And if we get a sense of this, that this the call unwinding which happened during the last few minutes, if this continues tomorrow like this, then 35,500 will not be a very good amount of resistance. It will be broken easily, it will be sustained easily, and Bank Nifty can spiral on the upside. But that to happen, it has to completely negate the kind of rally which it saw in the morning session. So I'm not negating that this decline is important. I'm saying that this increase was of much of a magnitude to overlook it. So this is a first takeaway for us from the data. Now when we look on the total OI, then we also see that 35,500 still have a good amount of call writing, and it's almost double the pace of the put writing at the current price level. And and again we see that the only support we have is only 500 points away. So 35,000 and 36,000 is the range, is the psychological level which the Bank Nifty is currently trying to visualize to expire within. So so let's just make a box here. What's the data is telling is 35,000 on the lower side. Let's just make it here. and on the upper side 36,000. So quite a narrow range which we can see that the bank nifty is visualizing for the expiry. Now within this we see that 35,500 is the level which is also getting to be defended, or if it is broken it will not be such that it will be so easily taking a sluggish increase. It would be kind of a ruthless increase also. So you have to be careful when it breaks 35,500 with a decisiveness. Then we have to be careful about what can happen next. So the plan should be simple. We have a black line on the downside. Let me just make this a little bit wider so that we can distinguish with the black line here. So we have got a black line reaction, and this is a positive attitude, and we are quite far away from the 200 moving average. And if I'm talking about, let me also okay, let me also load up the 20 moving average, because that is also important. I always look upon it. So make it 20 moving average. Let's do it with green line. Okay, so it has broken the 20 moving average with a good amount of a demand. The candle, which did not have any wick, it was so much in hurry that it did not form any wick on the downside, and it was also so much in hurry that it did not form any wick on the upside. It was just running for it. So this is a good reaction to the black line. Now the first takeaway is this. Now if the market opens flat tomorrow, if it opens flat like this, then definitely this trend should be continued, and this close drive should be the memory which can be replicated tomorrow. This is in assumption that nothing happens overnight in terms of the war, in terms of any political things. So this would maintain. Okay, so this would maintain like this. Maybe it will take a bounce here, and on the 5 minutes front it will take some support at the 20 moving average, and then it will try to break this definitely. Now I'm saying that when the momentum to break 35,500 is higher, and the moment it breaks 35,500, then this increase can be a little bit more ruthless, and it can go all the way over here to fill the gap. So it can be like this and can swing like this. So the market in terms of the OI is visualizing the box, but what I am visualizing is the expiry of the bank nifty within the black line. Okay, so this is the takeaway when the market is opening flat. Now in the event of a gap up opening, then a little bit of confusion would be there, because the sentiment is that the market is opening gap down and it is trying to make some recovery. So here also it opened gap down and continued, and then trying to almost close flat. So the sentiment change, if it happens, that would be visualized if it opens gap up. So the gap up would mean that this momentum which was originated yesterday in the noon session, that would be continued, and then 35,500 call writer would be running to save their ass, and then this increase would be much ruthless, one-sided and unidirectional. So this is a good moment of a bull run when there is a gap up opening. Now in the event of a gap down opening, then that means this this movement is now currently being there in the market and it has not faded away. So we can expect that some amount of downside and gap fulfillment, because that is the probability. Every gaps are bound to be filled up the moment it is created. So if it creates a gap down, it will definitely go for a fulfillment of it. That what I can assume right now. And the moment it fills that, it will try to be volatile, and it should be the typical kind of expiry when there is a gap down. So the gap down is the most considerate in terms of the option selling, and the other two scenario can be directional, and we have to be careful about it. So this is in terms of the bank nifty. Now let me also look more of the data here. Now if I make a sense of the PCR, then the PCR was quite what to say, it was not jacking up at all. And even you can see that the short covering came quite well. The PCR did not increase more than 0.57 or so. So it fell from 0.80 in the morning and could not lift at all, even if there was a 600 point movement. So the PCR is a concern for me. The PCR did not increase that much at that much pace. But I have to be relative about it. I have to visualize how much the movement is there in the PCR when the market opens tomorrow, and how much, what would be the first 15 minutes for the market. So the PCR is kind of a thing which is quite sluggish and not picking up. Now the second thing is that let us look at the data on the futures chart. The futures chart, you can see that throughout the day it was just quite not doing anything. The OI change was not significant, but the last what is a 1 hour was quite significant, and it wiped away all the short built up which happened throughout the day. So the people might be scared, they don't want to carry forward the positions. So that's why maybe some kind of profit booking, and that combined with the short covering happened to make a rally in the end. So this is in terms of the bank nifty. Let's also quickly look at the nifty. What can be the scenario for nifty? So the nifty, other good thing is that if the bank nifty happens to cross 35,500 and nifty is not facing any support in terms of the black line, it is facing some kind of resistance for the black line, and that is quite nearer. It is not far away. Excuse me. So it's quite nearer, and if we see that from here, this is the price action line, the red line, and the black line is the volume weighted line, which is significant because of its historical movement. Now if it opens flat, so before that let's look at the OI stats of the nifty, and then we make a deduction. So we look at the OI stats here. Now in the nifty OI stats, it's quite the call side is quite heavier. Like it's clearly visible that the nifty is being much more sensible. They're trying to look at the things which is happening around and not taking it lightly. So the nifty, the call side is quite heavy. If you look at the OI change, throughout the day only the call writing has happened. So the nifty is not that bullish, but it was not facing any black line on the lower side. It was not taking any support. So that's why I can see that can be a more of fall in the nifty, but bank nifty seems to be in the range of 35,000 36,000 for the expiry day. Now here also, if we see, the highest put writing is at around 16,500 and 16,700. So no, not much of a deduction can be made here in terms of the nifty, what is happening, because the data is not conclusive, and it seems to be confusing. Now if we look at the PCR, then I'll show you the PCR in the nifty also did not rise at all. In fact, even if there was a short covering, the PCR completely denied to have any increase. So the PCR was negative. The inconclusivity is there in terms of the open interest. And if we go on further to analyze what has happened in the P minus C space, then you can see large red in terms of the bank nifty, but in the last 1 hour there was good amount of coverage where it is quite bearish, but it happens to cover it up. But in terms of the nifty, I think it should be quite bearish. So you can see that 2 crore of a difference is there in terms of the P minus C. So nifty is looking quite bearish to me. So taking a bias from these kind of analysis, let's look at the plan for tomorrow. If the nifty opens flat, in the event of a flat opening, the nifty would try to take some resistance around the black line. So that is my first conclusion. But I can see that there is a weaker resistance. So the black line will not be that one side short would be there, that the moment it touches the black line there will be a reaction. It will try to complete this reaction. It will try to complete the auction process, the pricing process, as I have explained in my tutorials. So this reaction can happen, a good amount of spike on the upside, and then suddenly a downside move can happen, and then the Nifty can expire below the black line here, which is 16,700. Now, in the event of a gap up opening, that means the sentiment has changed and the black line also seems to be regaining. And if it poised with the increase in the PCR, then we can see a continuation on the upside in the Nifty can also happen, and that can look to expire just below the next psychological level of 17,000. So that can happen on the event of a gap up opening. Now in the event of a gap down opening, there would be similar kind of confusion that the market is range bound. Now it will try to fill the gap which it has created, and it will try to decay the premium as much as possible by having non-directional view, and a typical kind of expiry can prevail if it happens to open gap down. So these three possibilities are there which I can visualize for you, and you can strategize around these three scenarios, which is good enough. Now anything which happens apart from this, you have to contemplate what is happening in the market and what situations are there, and you have to manage the position sizing. That is most important, that you have to manage the position sizing, and that can be useful. So let's also look at the strategy builder, what can be there. So what we have done, what thing we have studied, let's put it in practice to know what can be done for tomorrow. So we'll go to Opstra and we'll try to make a sense here. Okay. Okay, so we have Opstra, we have tomorrow's expiry for the Nifty we plan to make. This is 3rd of March options. So the Nifty, simple thing would be that if the Nifty opens gap down, I would try to play something like this, something within this range. Okay, so this will come around 16,800 on the upside and 16,500 on the downside, somewhere around this. Let me just somewhere squeak like this, 16,800 and 16,450. So this would be my plan for Nifty. 16,450 on the call side. Let's just sell 8 lots. Okay, and 16, sorry, see, it should be 16,800, 16,800. Okay, and on the downside 16,450. Okay, so this would be the strategy, and you can obviously hedge it, and this would come down to 5 lakh or so. So don't worry about the estimated margin here. Now the profit would be quite handsome. It should be around 30,000 or so, and which can be somewhere around 15% of your margin. So this is a good strategy in the Nifty. Now if I talk about the Bank Nifty here, let me also copy paste this. Okay, so the for the Bank Nifty, things are quite undecisive, indecisive, but the thing is that 35,500 would be the point where the fight can happen, and that is a point where I'm quite interested to see how the things unwraps. And 35,500 would be the point where I would try to create some kind of straddle here. Uh, yeah, I would like to keep it for as long as possible. Now even if I hedge it, let's hedge it for 1,000 point away hedge on both the sides. So see here, now what we are saying is that uh, if it happens to expire exactly at 35,500, the profit would be around 1 lakh 12,000, and the estimated margin is quite low, 6 lakh 25,000. Now the good thing is that our maximum loss is defined. Okay, and the risk reward is also quite good, 1:1, 1:1.35 in fact, and the probability of profit is quite less. But this does not concern me the because the premiums are quite high. So the premiums is lucrative. Now if we happens to see at least 10% decline in the VIX here, then the moment market opens here, you will see that you will be up with around 1% of the profit. Around 1% of the profit will be taken. Now even if the market, what would be the neutral box? Let's just draw that. 34,926, 36,74. So let's just draw this. 34,926 in Bank Nifty. 34,926 and 3674. So you can see that it is quite within the range where we have defined the open interest. In fact, it is getting wider. So this is good for us here, right? 36,074. Okay, so you can see the little bit wider to the deduction which we have made in terms of the data, and this would be the range for this. And you see that even if a slightest of a fall within the range, if we visualize like this, that the Bank Nifty is gone crazy, it's moving up and down, we're just relaxing, and it, even if it's slightest of a movement, like let's suppose it's expired at around 35,100 or around 36,000, what would be the profit? Let's just see this. So 36,000, the profit would be around 18,000, and 35,100 or so, the profit would be around 20,000. So you're not losing anything from this strategy. So the easily you will be able to make around 3% from this. So all the best for it. So I hope you like the video, and do comment, subscribe, and let me know what content do you like on this channel and what do you want me to cover in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great day. All the best. Bye bye.